Hi everybody, welcome back to the channel. This is Crafting and Crime Daily, and I am Rebecca, your host, aka Crafting Journey, and I'm currently recapping the trial of Chad Daybell. Yes, day 10 of testimony yesterday, and we were getting into the death of Tammy Daybell. Very, very interesting. So they had the coroner on, Fremont County coroner. They had several of Tammy Daybell's friends, coworkers, and a couple of detectives. So we're going to talk about all of that today, as soon as I find my notes about it. Okay, I got it. Welcome back. If you are new to the channel, and I have quite a few new subscribers, thank you for tuning in, and I appreciate your support. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up button and the notification bell. You want to hit all so you don't miss a single episode. All right, so day 10. First person on the stand was a woman named Brenda Dye. She is the Fremont County coroner. Now, let me talk about the camera setup in this courtroom. This is not being covered by Law and Crime, Court TV. I mean, it's being covered by them, but they're not the ones doing the camera work. The camera work is being done in the courtroom. It's the courtroom feeds. They've got just normal cameras set up in different places. So we're getting 4 different, it's a split screen, 4 different scenes. So we've got one camera focused on the judge, one camera focused on the witness, one camera focused on Chad Daybell, the defense table, the other camera focused on the prosecution, and you can see who's coming and going through in the courthouse or the courtroom. So you cannot see the witness that well, but my impression was Brenda Dye was a younger woman. She's a Fremont County emergency medical technician and coroner, which is an elected position. Now, coroners are not medical examiners. They have, in fact, she's not a doctor. She's an EMT. And you run for this position and you get elected, and your job is to go, you get called out to unattended deaths. So when they go to these unattended deaths, their job is to determine the cause of death, if they can, and to sign off on the death certificate. Now, unattended death means you die at home. You're not in a hospital. You're not in a medical setting. You're not under the care of a doctor. This would be an unattended death. And the police do get called out, and there was a deputy called out to this scene. This was October 19th, 18th going into the 19th. So the morning of the 19th, she gets called out to this scene by a deputy that had responded, Fremont County deputy. So, and it is in her sole discretion as an EMT to decide whether or not she wants an autopsy. And one of the things she said that I thought was very important is that they don't have a budget to do a lot of autopsies. So she's being very frugal about who she sends for an autopsy. And in this case, Chad didn't want an autopsy. And she didn't see anything untoward on the scene that would lead her to believe that an autopsy was necessary. She nor the deputy. And the deputy actually called a couple of detectives who we're going to hear from later on. And none of these people were aware of any of the ongoing investigations, the search for Tylee and JJ, the homicide up in Arizona, the shooting up in Arizona. They weren't aware of any of this. So nor were they aware that 10 days before this death, she had been shot at. Tammy Daybell had been shot at in her driveway. They didn't know any of this. They just came onto the scene. Here's this woman that died in her sleep overnight. So the coroner said Chad was very distraught, and she noticed that when she looked at the body that there was pink foam, blood-tinged sputum, pink foam coming out of Tammy Daybell's mouth. Now, this is a sign of pulmonary edema. Something was causing inflammation in her lungs and that causing that foam to come out of her mouth. It's not seen very often at an unattended death. You're going to hear that testimony later on. But Chad told the medical examiner that he felt that early morning, he felt her roll off the bed. Oh, even before that. During the night, he said, before she went to bed, he said she had vomited in the bathroom. And he gave a history that she didn't like to go to doctors, that he had taken her to the temple recently where when she got up from kneeling, she fainted, and that she had a history of low blood pressure. And he said that, so after they go to bed that night in the morning, he feels her roll off the bed. So he gets up and he finds her dead. And he said that her head was on the floor and her leg was in the bed. So he goes and gets his son, Garth, and they put mom back into the bed, but she's dead. So the coroner's like, wait a minute, how is that possible? Dead people don't roll out of bed. He goes, oh, well, when I moved the sheets, she fell out of bed. Okay, wow. But no autopsy. So she signs the death certificate, natural causes, and they go on and they have their funeral. But so Chad continues, he says, that she had been feeling off for the past few months, that she had this feeling that was just not normal, like she was outside of her body. And he talked about the fainting spells, the decreased blood pressure, that she didn't like to seek medical attention, and that she liked these natural remedies. So she looked, the coroner looked, and at the bedside table there was a book about natural remedies. In the cabinet she found all kinds of herbal supplements and natural supplements. She found one bottle of prescription, which was fluoxetine, which is, I understand it, Prozac, an antidepressant. Now, Chad did mention that a few weeks before she had a fall where she hurt her wrist and she had been prescribed tramadol, but she didn't find that prescription bottle when she was there. She probably took it all. Then, what else did I miss here? So it wasn't till later on in December that the FBI and the Fremont County detectives called this coroner, and they're like, hey, we want to exhume this body. And then they start telling her about all this other things, all these other investigations and, related investigations. And the attempted shooting of Tammy 10 days before this. And she's like, oh, now she's rethinking the cause of death. She's like, okay, let's exhume the body. Now, of course, John Pryor, the defense attorney, was very critical on cross-examination. You didn't notify the family that their loved one was going to be dug up. And this woman was very meek, very timid, very soft-spoken. And I wanted to say, hey, speak up. You're elected. You're an elected official. Be proud of what you do. You're not a medical examiner, but, she didn't sound very confident in her findings. Anyway, so she had the body exhumed. It was sent for autopsy because they don't have the ability to do autopsies in that county. She had to send it somewhere else, somewhere in Utah for an autopsy. And the results came back that she died of asphyxia, which is, where your oxygen is cut off. And so she amended the death certificate to reflect the cause of death as asphyxia, and the manner of death, instead of natural, is now homicide. She and some of the things she said on the autopsy findings that led her to change amend her report. She said that it didn't make sense that, because when 2 months later, they dig this woman up and she still got a stomach full of contents. 2 months later. She said it didn't make sense that he said she had vomited and she has a stomach, with contents in it. And of course, the defense attorney said, well, was it full of contents or was it just had contents? And she's like, she didn't know. She couldn't remember. But, and he's like, well, did you learn that she had a Big Mac and French fries the night before? And did you find a Big Mac? You're not going to find Big Mac and French fries after someone has chewed and masticated their food and it has gone down. It ain't going to look like French fries or Big Macs. And then they sit there for 2 months. It ain't going to look like that. Okay. So no, she didn't find any French fries or potatoes. So, but the foam in the lungs is what I want to talk about. I'm curious. I don't know if they did a toxicology. We haven't heard from this medical examiner, but did they do a toxicology? And did they do it for poisons? Because certain poisons, like carbon monoxide, can cause pulmonary edema, and that pink froth that you see coming from her mouth. Cyanide, a couple of different poisons that can do that. Just saying, yeah. Okay. Now, next on the stand was friends and coworkers of Tammy Daybell. It was all about Tammy all day. So this first friend worked in the school kitchen. What knows it is? Is somebody talking about me? Or I'm coming into some money? One of those things is true about that old wives' tale. Anyway, she worked in the school kitchen. She was... this woman taught clogging once a week for 60 minutes. And I thought, oh, how fun. I want to learn to clog. I think that would be really fun. So they said, well, describe that as, because she taught this clogging class and Tammy would come with her daughter, Emma. Emma worked at that same school, elementary school, as a third grade teacher. This woman that was on the stand, she worked in the kitchen. Tammy worked in the library as a computer specialist. So she saw Emma and Tammy at her clogging class. Now she was asked to describe, is this like a low intensity workout, high intensity, or kind of mid? And she said it's kind of a mid intensity. Your heart rate's going to get up there during this. And she never noticed Tammy falling behind. She never noticed that she would get tired. She said, I didn't notice any issues with Tammy regarding completing that class. So on cross-examination, John Pryor had her admit that, you weren't right next to her, right? No, she was in the back row, right? Yes, with her daughter, Emma. Wouldn't Emma be the better person to speak on whether her mother had any issues? Well, yeah. So I can't wait till this Emma takes the stand. Anyway, but this woman also attended a high fitness class twice a week where they would do burpees and jumping jacks, like high intensity, something I stay away from at all costs. She was doing this high intensity workout. It has these explosive movements, and she was able to keep up with it. Her and Emma in the back row, once again, able to keep up with it, these high intensity movements. This woman had no concerns regarding Tammy's health, none. So, but she had only seen her one time at the high intensity fitness class. One time. She had only been to the class one time. So the next person on the stand had been to this high intensity class all the time, months. So this was another school teacher. She would attend the high intensity fitness class twice a week. She would be in the back row where Tammy was. So we got the back row covered. And she too did not notice anything untoward regarding Tammy's health. She said Tammy was in great shape, in good health. And hours before that, she had lunch with her and she seemed happy and healthy. And so the defense attorney, and I really got mad at him for this because, come on. He's like, so you're saying she was petite and in good shape. And she's like, you don't have to be petite to be in good shape. And I'm thinking, no, you don't. What a buffoon. Yeah. Okay. I'm sorry. Yeah. And Tammy had mentioned that she was getting in shape. She and Emma wanted to get in shape for a 5K. So that was several months before. But these classes continued up until just before Tammy died. So then we have another school teacher that was on this stand, also attending the high fitness classes. Didn't notice anything untoward about Tammy's health. She saw Tammy at school every single day. She said Tammy was super friendly, bubbly, happy. She had lunch with her the Friday before she died, and she seemed normal. Then we got the detective, Fremont County detective, and he said, with respect to the unattended death, he got a call. The deputy, the detective that was on call for unattended deaths happened to have been out at another call, an officer-involved shooting. So he wasn't responding. So the deputy on the scene of Tammy's death calls this other detective. And based on everything she was telling him, he decided not to respond to the scene. Had he known, like I said, this detective and the one we're going to hear from next, they didn't know about all this other stuff, all these other investigations, this shooting. They didn't know about this stuff. Or they said they would have responded to her death, but nothing suspicious. This is what the deputy is telling him over the phone, but that she took a shit ton of pictures, and that was a quote. So he said he has been at over 80 unattended deaths in his career and has never seen pink foam coming from someone's mouth. So it's sort of very infrequent that you'll see this. So they started, so nothing, he didn't hear anything that he felt warranted him to go out to this scene. There was no forced entry, no thoughts of suicide, no notes, no, the family saying she was fine. So he didn't go. But then in mid-December of 2019, he started an investigation into Tammy's death, as he got contacted by these other agencies regarding Tammy or the missing kids and the other investigations. Then he's like, then he got the medical records for Tammy. And based on that, he said she was taking tramadol for wrist pain, the Prozac for depression. He said there was no record of her having low blood pressure, no record of her slowing down her activity, no records to support that she was fainting or having seizures or problems. Yeah. So he contacted he contacted the coroner, and that's when they all decided, okay, we're going to exhume this body and we're going to find out what's going on. Also, he found no evidence that there was heart conditions in Tammy's family history, which was what was told to them by Chad. Then with respect to Emma, he said Emma refused to talk to him. Now, it came out on cross-examination that he had only attempted to talk to her one time, but Emma's husband would not talk to him either. These children were not cooperating with the investigation. They are so supportive of their father. I just can't wait to see what kind of a witness she makes on the stand. So he wanted to talk to her about whether her mom was slowing down in the fitness class. She wouldn't talk to him. So there were 2 life insurance policies that were found on Tammy Daybell, one for $130,000 and one for $300,000. Both of those life insurance policies named Chad as the beneficiary, and both were paid out to Chad. So $430,000 was paid out to Chad. Now, at this point, they put up a beneficiary statement that was filled out by Chad on one of those life insurance policies. And he said one of the things that he had to answer, one of the questions was, what is the date that the decedent's health first became impaired? And he said it was October 18th. And what date did she last attend work? October 18th. Interesting. And when it asked for the name of her doctor, he didn't list any. No doctors listed. Now, on cross-examination, it came out that the school policy, which was $300,000, or I don't know which one was the school policy. One of them was the school policy. This was her second year at the school. Apparently, the first year is sort of a probationary period, and you only get $50,000 of life insurance. But once you go into your second year, you are given the opportunity to increase the amount for very little money. So he's trying to insinuate to the jury that the reason her life insurance was increased shortly before she passes away is because this is what happens in your second year of teaching. It's normal for people to increase their life insurance. Okay, if you say so. Now, this guy had a really interesting line of questioning regarding a Fitbit. I'm like, oh, Fitbit. So if you wear a Fitbit or an Apple Watch, just know they can get this information, because he said the Fitbit was never recovered. The reason he knew there was a Fitbit involved is because when he was reviewing pictures of Tammy on Facebook, he could see that she had on a Fitbit. So they got the Fitbit printout for her account, and it listed, he said she had like the lowest level of Fitbit, like the cheapest one. So it was not recording heart rate consistently, and it wasn't recording sleep with any kind of regularity that you could determine anything. But it was recording steps, and it gave a printout of the steps by month, how many steps per month. And she would have, for like, I think there may have been 7 or 8 months worth of these steps, she would have between 200 and 300 plus thousand steps a month. That is like 10,000 steps a day. That is really, really good. If I get 3, I'm like, yay. So I got 3. But on my YouTube channel a couple of years ago, we had a little step challenge with my subscribers, and some of the more active subscribers would be up in that 10, 11,000 range. So, and you got to be in fairly decent health to be doing that. I live a very sedentary life. I ride a bicycle, but my Fitbit or my Apple Watch, 3,000 steps, that's pretty good for me. Unless I'm crocheting. I'm going to tell you crafters out there, if you want to get your steps up, just crochet. The movement of crocheting apparently records that as steps. I'll get 8,000 steps if I start crocheting. Anyway, just an aside. So he looked at average steps for people just to figure out where she was at. And she was above average. Yes, she was above average on most days. And she did not appear to be slowing down as it got, right before her death. She was not slowing down on the steps. Now, on cross-examination, it came out that the family was having some kind of Fitbit contest, and Tammy was very competitive. And one of the people in the family said that, when she would go to bed at night, she'd be winning. And then when she'd wake up the next morning, she wouldn't be winning. So John Pryor, the defense attorney, said to the guy, "You don't know who was wearing her Fitbit, do you?" And he goes, "Well, no, we don't know who was wearing it. We're assuming she was because it's her account. Could it have been Emma? It could have been anybody. We don't know. They never found the Fitbit." Or she could have been crocheting. Maybe she went to bed and crocheted. I don't know. Anyway, I just thought that was really, really interesting. So then we get another detective. Now, the detective that takes the stand last for the day is the representative that is sitting at the prosecution table for the trial, because you're allowed to have one law enforcement person there at the table, and this is the guy. So he got up and he talked about the 10 days before that, October 9th, when Tammy Daybell, there's an attempted shooting on her life. Yeah, so he talked about that, and I'm going to play the 911 calls for that. There's 2 911 calls. One was made by her son-in-law, Emma's husband, and one by her. So listen to those here.
911, where's your emergency?
Yes, so my mother-in-law, who lives in the corner today, had just gotten home about 10 minutes ago, was unloading her car, and she thinks the man, but she's not 100% sure she didn't see, because they were wearing a ski mask, came up to her for the table again, but they started shooting at her. It wasn't loaded, because it didn't, nothing came out of it. But he kept asking what he was doing. He would respond, and then suddenly, after she pulled out with her husband, he ran off.
Okay, what's the address? Are you there? Hello? Are you still there?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Okay, now I can hear you. What's the address?
It's 199 North, 1900 East, Rexburg, Idaho, 83440. That's my address. She lives in the corner. I don't know what her address is.
Okay, I need her address. What's her location?
I think it's 201, I think is her address.
201 North 1900 East?
North. Yep.
Does she know which direction he ended up running?
We headed east, back behind the house.
Okay, and did she give you a description of the clothing?
I didn't get one from me. I can follow that.
What is your name?
My name is Joseph Murray.
Okay, is this a good phone number for you?
Yep.
Okay, I am sending a deputy out to your mother's home.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
October 9, 2019, 21 hours, 49 minutes, 20 seconds.
Fremont County Sheriff's Office.
Hi, I need to report something.
Okay, go ahead. What's the address?
Okay, at 202 North, 1900 East, the corner with the blinking yellow light on Salem Highway.
Is it a suspicious person?
Yes.
Okay, what was he wearing?
He was all dressed in black and he had a ski mask on.
And he said the blinking light now is where you saw him?
No, he's gone now because I pulled up into our driveway and I was getting stuff out of the back seat of my car and suddenly he was there and he had a paintball gun and he was and he was going to shoot at me. And I kept asking him what he was doing because I could tell it was a paintball thing. And then he just kept doing it, so I yelled for my husband and then he took off running around the back of my house.
Okay, give me just 1 minute. Stay on the line with me.
Okay.
October 9, 2019, 21 hours, 50 minutes, 28 seconds.
And that was North 1900 East?
Yes.
October 9, 2019, 21 hours, 50 minutes, 43 seconds.
Do you know what direction he was going?
He went behind my house and it showed back out there, and I just went in the house and got my husband and son, and then they went out and looked, and he was long gone by then. So he was on the north side of my house, is where he went to get away.
Okay.
He didn't say anything, or he just kept like he was holding the gun, like he was, had a rifle and was shooting at me. So. But nothing came out of the gun either, so I don't think it was loaded.
Okay, and what is your name, ma'am?
My name is Tammy Daybell.
Okay, I will pass your information on to my deputies. We actually just had a previous call about this individual, so they're out in the area looking now.
Okay, yeah, I think it was my son-in-law who lives diagonal from us that called you guys already.
Oh,
So
okay.
I just wanted to make sure it got reported. So
let's see. And what's your son-in-law's name?
Joseph Murray.
Okay, yep, it was him.
Okay.
So, all right, I have a deputy that will be out at your home here shortly.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
So she suspected that this was a paintball gun. So she's like, hey, what are you doing? She's like confronting him because she thinks it's a paintball gun that's misfiring or not, I don't know. But this detective said that back when they searched the condos, remember they had that search warrant and they searched all the different condos, Alex and Lori's and Mel, they all had those condos. And they found that large cache of weapons in Alex's garage. Well, they found a rifle amongst the weapons that were seized that is very similar to an AR-15, but it's not the same model as an AR-15. It is an assault rifle, but it also looks very, very much, and they showed this rifle to the jury, it looks very, very much like a paintball gun. So she's out there, going, hey, thinking it's a paintball gun. It was a rifle, and it misfired. Or she'd have been dead. She'd have been shot, just like Charles Vallow. And it's a pretty good assumption that the person wielding that weapon was Lori's brother, Alex. We'll never know, but I think so. He was wearing a ski mask. Oh my God, yeah, a ski mask. So they started to get into Alex's Gmail account, the Homer J. Maximus Gmail account. And when they did, there was some technical difficulties. So the judge just ended the testimony for the day so they could get that resolved. And that's where it will pick up for today's testimony, which they started 30 minutes late. So I will bring that to you tomorrow in tomorrow's episode. This is so interesting, this trial, really. There's so many dynamics to this trial, but I cannot wait to see Emma on the stand. Yeah. Anyway, have a great day, everybody. It's Thursday, and I will see you tomorrow in Crafting and Crime Daily. Take care. Bye.